Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, now we can move on to our second audio, where we continue to discuss some of the issues that had taken place and are taking place in our town in Reading, and to discuss the split and the reason for the split between the two Salafi parties. So, as we mentioned, we arranged a meeting with Abu Hakeem, and the reason for this meeting was that we wanted to seek clarification on some of the positions that we had taken, and we had now started to strongly believe was possibly incorrect. After witnessing different events that took place in the Masjid, then our doubts intensified, and we were starting to see brothers being boycotted very, very hastily, with no or very little nasiha. No advice was given, or very little was given. And we started to see bully boy tactics and bully boy behavior, and all of this made us start to question the stances that we had taken previously. On top of this, we would speak with an elder called Hudaifa, and he actually had preceded Abu Zayd and his blood brother Yazid in the dawah, and he would actually affirm that they definitely had harshness with them. So when you couple this with the weak responses that the Reading Shura would give to us for our questions and our concerns, then at this point I was very sure that our stances that we had taken was not correct. So we sat with Abu Hakeem, and he opened the floor for us to air our concerns. We also want to add here that we wasn't looking for a refutation on the Reading Shura. Yes, we were following their guidance. Yes, we were following them. And yes, we was nurtured by them. But we had taken stances also. And we wanted to make sure that what we had done was correct. And if we was not correct for our stances and our positions, then we wanted to make islah and rectify the harms that we had done. So the first issue that we addressed with him was actually the greatest of our concerns. And that was a position that we had taken against a brother named Abdurrahman Shima Abu Taymiyyah. And Abdurrahman, then alhamdulillah, he was one of the brothers who, after taking the Shahada, then he affiliated and attached himself to the Salafis and the dawah immediately. He wasn't a general brother. He wasn't a brother that would frequent different masajid. He wasn't with the Hizbis one day and with the Salafis one day. Rather, he was with Ahl Sunnah and with the Salafiyun from the beginning. And he also was someone who had a position in the Masjid. He used to lead the prayer. He used to lead Jummah prayer. He would teach the kids the Quran, etc. And he was very, very close with the Imam, Abu Zayd. He was very close with him. He also used to teach Abu Zayd's children boxing. So this was his position and a background to him and his affiliation with the Masjid. Abdurrahman, alhamdulillah, Allah favored him, and he was accepted into the university in Mecca, Qura, where he is currently still studying. And whilst he was in Mecca studying, then he actually was made aware of the decline in the Masjid that we previously mentioned in the first audio. And he contacted one of the brothers, being Abu Idris Isa, and had a conversation with him via WhatsApp. And he was saying to Isa, I'm hearing that the brothers are boycotting. I'm hearing that they're boycotting general Muslims. I'm hearing they're not giving no nasiha. I'm hearing they're not returning the salams. Where's the dawah? These are new Muslims. These are awam. They don't know better. Be patient with them. Shaykh Rabee says this. Shaykh Albani says this. It's the time of forbearance, etc., etc. At this point, Isa wasn't actually in agreement with Abdurrahman, because we were still affected by the harshness. And also, Isa wasn't fully aware of the extent of how bad things really was. So when this message and this conversation actually got back to the Reading Shura, then they interpreted it to mean that Shima is siding with the people of doubt. and he does not have good opinion of his Salafis and their judgment, and he doesn't trust his elders, etc., etc., etc. At the end of the conversation, Abdurrahman, he actually made a valid and a good suggestion, and he said, rather than you guys making ijtihad and boycotting people recklessly and possibly destroying and damaging your small community that you have already, why don't you compile a question, give it to me, and I will take it to Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoul, and you can compile a question saying that basically we live in a town which is like this, and we have people who come to our masjid and their hal is like this. How do we deal with them? So when Abu Zayd saw this request from Abdurrahman, then he actually got back to Isa saying that Abdullah Lahmami said to him that there's no need to take this back to a scholar because this type of question has already been asked before. So at this point, many brothers from the community started to boycott Abdurrahman. Me, myself, being from them. Not only did I boycott Abdurrahman, but I actually wrote a 19-point refutation against him. 19 points that I believed at the time highlighted and was a proof for his deviation. These same 19 points that I have recanted from and that I freed myself from, then unfortunately the Reading Shura are still referencing them to this day. And Abu Zayd said to me via WhatsApp messages that he believes and he sees that these 19 points are sufficient to warn against and stay away from a person. Now, many of these points are actually inaccurate and based upon the testimony of others. And many of these points are just nothing other than extremism and absolute ignorance. And we actually mentioned some of these points to Abu Hakeem when discussing Abdurrahman in the meeting. And from these points that we mentioned were that he does not sit in the lessons of Shiek Rabee. Now, first of all, this actually turned out to be inaccurate, a lie. Abdurrahman informed us that he actually did attend the lessons of Shiek Rabee, and he actually said he recalls seeing Abu Hakeem himself in some of those lessons. And we also know of a brother, Ilyas Abu Saleh, a Canadian student in Mecca, who has been with Abdurrahman throughout their studies. And they actually arrived in Mecca in the same year. And he says that he will actually go to the durus of Shiek Rabee with Abdurrahman. And Abu Hakeem also mentioned that it's not correct anyway to boycott someone for the fact that he does not sit in the lessons of Shiek Rabee. I mean, this shows extreme fanaticism. Can you imagine Shiek Rabee being pleased with the fact that a Salafi who adheres to the manhaj and its methodology, can you imagine the Sheikh being happy that this Salafi is boycotted for not being seen in his lessons? What do you think the Sheikh would say? Alhamdulillah, Abdurrahman, then his Salafiyya is known and is clear. So for his soundness to be negated based upon him not being connected via lessons to a specific scholar is extreme and going beyond bounds. We also mentioned from the points was that he attends the lessons of Shaykh Wasiullah. Abu Hakeem once again didn't agree with this point, even though he said he disagrees with some of his stances. Shaykh Wasiullah, he did say it's not permissible or it's not allowed to boycott a Salafi because he attends the durus of Shaykh Wasiullah. Subhanallah, we are talking of an alim who the ulama call an alim and recommend. And we've had no one to precede us with this speech. And here we are boycotting a brother for sitting in the lessons of a scholar. And to add to this, I recall speaking with Abu Zayd in a supermarket. And when he was trying to justify the boycotting of Abdurrahman, he actually said that a senior from Birmingham said to him that he would have not salamed Shima just for sitting with Shaykh Wasiullah alone. Subhanallah. And from the points that we mentioned, was that Abdurrahman said, why are we always doing manhaj? Now, after recanting and speaking to Abu Taymiyyah, Shema Abdurrahman, we spoke about this particular point. And he said to me, I don't recall ever even saying this. He said, what I can say though, is that I recall some of the mashayikh, and they mention that the Salafi, he is an all-rounder. He's strong in fiqh, he's strong in Quran, he's strong in memorization, he's strong in Arabic, he's strong in manhaj. He said, so they don't see it to be praiseworthy that a person may focus purely on a particular bab, but then he neglects things like tahara, and he neglects things and doesn't know things that negate his salah or negates his purification, etc. He said, but for clarification, no doubt the books of manhaj, and he actually said books like Sharh Sunnah and books like Usul Sunnah, then no doubt the Ummah is in need of them. And he actually praised these books. And every point that we mentioned regarding Abdurrahman, then we was told very clearly by Abu Hakeem that these points was incorrect. And our stances based upon them was incorrect. And we even recall him putting his head in his hands, shaking his head, saying that we should not have dealt with Abdurrahman like this. We then told Abu Hakeem that Abdurrahman said that he intends to write a letter to the Masjid, the Salafi, Lydford Road, and ask them for evidences for boycotting him, and he will give them 3 days to provide this and to present this. And if they fail to do so, then he will take their affair to the Lajna. And Abu Hakeem said, no, tell him don't do this. And rather, he said, I will be happy to speak with Abdurrahman. We then moved on to speak about 2 other brothers. One of them being a brother who would come to our masjid called Abdullah. Abdullah was a brother who actually from Croydon, and he ended up moving to Reading for a short period of time. And during that time, the early stages, he would come to our masjid. It came to our attention that he didn't believe that the evidences against Brixton Masjid was sufficient that he couldn't go there. Bear in mind, he never called to Brixton. He never called to any other masjid. He never called to any doubts. He just believed this. But he would come to our masjid. He would pray in our masjid, play football with us, attend the lessons with us, come to Tarawih with us, break his fast with us. Anyway, we started to boycott him. And 2 brothers that we know, they actually had an altercation with him. He met with them, and Abdullah gave them the salams, and they refused to return the salam to him. And an altercation actually happened. Another brother who we had concerns with of how we treated was a brother called Yunus, who didn't see the problems with attending a masjid in our area called Cumberland Road. Cumberland Road is actually basically the same as Green Lane in Birmingham, but in Reading. So Yunus couldn't see, he didn't understand, he didn't believe that the evidences that was used against them was sufficient for him not to be able to go to Cumberland Road. But at the same time, once again, he didn't call to Cumberland Road. He didn't call to any doubts, but he had this belief whilst attending our masjid. Anyway, likewise with him, we started to boycott him. He would come to our masjid and pray with the brothers, and when he would leave, he would say Assalamu alaikum, and we would refuse to return the salams. And then eventually, he stopped attending. So our question was to Abu Hakeem, was we correct with these stances? Was we correct, or did we make a mistake? How do you treat someone that comes to your masjid who has doubts with them? How do you treat them? And Abu Hakeem, subhanallah, he gave an answer, but wallahi, it just stuck with me and still does. He said, the fact that these brothers come to your masjid, the fact that they still was coming to your masjid was an ayah from Allah. This was his words, wallahi. He said that we know of brothers that come to our masjid, and we are well aware that they are acquainted with Green Lane Masjid. And when they come to our masjid, then we show them good manners. We say to them, Assalamu alaikum akhi, kif hal sheikh, and we treat them like this. So he made it very clear that the person who comes to your masjid, if they have doubts, and they are not calling to their doubts anyway, then this is how the Salafi deals with them and how he interacts with them. And you have to bear in mind as well that these brothers who we mentioned, Abdullah and Yunus, were actually revert brothers. They both actually had not been Muslims for longer than 3 years. And this is how we dealt with them. We then went on to say to Abu Hakeem that we didn't even advise them. I actually spoke to Abu Zayd and said, Abu Zayd, you haven't advised Yunus. And you haven't advised Abdullah. Why don't you advise them? And he said to me, Bilal, they was attending Sharh Sunnah. They should know better. So as far as he is concerned, then the fact that they attended the lessons, Sharh Sunnah, then this was the hujjah against them. And there was no nasiha for them. This was their nasiha. And Abu Hakeem at this point was bewildered. You can see that he was not in agreement with this answer. And he actually went on to say that maybe they was not feeling the teacher. We were then surprised and amazed that Abu Hakeem himself started to speak, and he said that he was aware of the Shiddah in Reading already, and he was actually aware of where it was coming from. He said that the Reading Shura do not visit him, and they do not visit Abu Khadeejah, but they visit their advisor who lives in Birmingham. And he said that 90 to 95% of the issues with the Shiddah actually stem from their advisor in Birmingham. And he said that the advisor in Birmingham himself has actually missed the boat completely himself a few times. So he said that he intends to arrange a meeting with the Reading Shura where he would address their issues and pull them up. And he also said that he intends for the advisor to be there, and he said, and he can get touched also. He said that he even believed that the Reading Shura cancelled his lessons that he was doing in Reading, Qasas al-Anbiya, because he felt like they may have believed there wasn't enough rudud and refutations in those lessons. He said that he believed that Abu Zayd was better. He said that Abu Zayd is afdal min than Yazid. And he couldn't understand why Abu Zayd had given Yazid authority and made him the example. We then said, Abu Zayd says that Yazid is strong in manhaj and he surpassed all of us, and that Yazid has insight. Abu Hakeem then joked by saying, yeah, and that's why you have 5 people at Tarawih. So in finishing off, then let it be known that we left that meeting with no doubt that we was incorrect for our stances, and Abu Hakeem made that 100% clear. So we find it amazing now that we are hearing that the Shiddah was perfectly placed and that there was no harshness. And seeing that we are the ones that have repented and rectified our affairs with our oppressed brothers and tried to build back our community, whilst the Reading Shura continue to hold these extreme positions and boycott and not rectify and to continue to destroy our community, then we find it amazing. Wallahi, we find it amazing that we are being accused of the ones causing the splitting. And we will end here, alhamdulillah, and bi'idhnillah, in audio part 3, then we will mention what happened in the next meeting. By the decree of Allah, a meeting actually took place that wasn't actually planned initially, where Abu Hakeem was present, we were present, and the Reading Shura, and we would discuss what happened there. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.